Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this interesting, weird little knife right here. This is the P848 knife out of Ruike. First off, though, I want to thank, it's Ruike, by the way, it's R-U-I-K-E. Right here, Ruike. So, first off, a note on the company. Ruike, whatever the heck you want to call it, is owned by the Phoenix company that makes the flashlights and is made by Sanrenmu Knives. So if you've heard of those companies before, that's who's making these. Next thing, a note on where this came from. This actually came from my buddy over at Indiana Knives. He donated a bunch of Ruike knives to the channel for me to take a look at, so long as I'd agree to do a charity raffle at the end for ALS research, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease. And yes, absolutely 100%. We lost a family friend to ALS a long time ago, and that's a rough one. So anything we can do to help is great. Thank you, Indiana Knives, for that. Next thing, size comparison real quick. Let's pop this guy open. Come on. There we go. Here we go, next to the Spyderco. Here we have it next to the Ontario Rat number 1 and the Ontario Rat number 2. And so you can see that blade length-wise, this is actually kind of a big knife. We're coming in terms of sharpened length, a little bit larger than the Rat 1. In terms of overall, a little less, and depending on how the cop wants to measure, etc., you got questions there. But anyways, so it's not a tiny knife here going on. And then finally, this is going to be a quick review, and there's not going to be a disassembly because honestly, I don't think this knife quite merits it. So let's go ahead and talk about what's great and what's not very good about this guy right here. So on the good side, unfortunately, on the good side, unfortunately, this has a great design. Well, actually, at some level, it is unfortunate, because I would have liked this. Anyways, this has a very attractive design. If you just look at this guy, particularly when closed, it's beautiful, because they've got these nice dark blue liners. They've got this textured black G10, and it's a contoured G10, which is unusual, certainly at these kinds of price points. That's very nice. It has a nice deep carry setup with a glossy clip and this nice little line of screws here. Absolutely very nice, and carry-wise, works well. Definitely they've got the screws in the clip path, but it's tall enough that it doesn't super matter. So that's good. Next thing, this is kind of doing something a little bit unusual in the knife world. There we go. In that it is using it is a two-hand open knife, because it needs to open with a nail nick, unfortunately. But it is locking. So you can see here it is a liner lock knife. It's not a slip joint. Ruike makes slip joints. But this is absolutely a locking knife, and it locks pretty securely. No real concerns there. So that's good. Next thing on the blade. The blade is reasonably well done. Some flat, some belly, some tip. And the steel on it is 14C28N. Fine steel. No freaking problems there. So I like that very much. The action on this guy is quite good. It appears to be running on bearings or washers that are so smooth that I can't tell they're bearings. I'm not quite sure which. But the thing is, that's a very nice thing. This kind of a high-quality action is beautiful. And then finally, on the good side, the price on this guy is quite solid. This guy comes in at $40, which I think is a very, very nice price, especially given that, well, there aren't that many locking slip joints out there, and frankly, it's really well made for that money. So that to me is the good on this knife, is that it's got a very nice price at $40, given what you're getting here and the finishing that you're getting. It is a locking two-hand open knife, which is going to be a good thing for some legal situations. It's got a nice deep carry clip here, and it is just an attractive design. These dark blue liners coupled with the contour G10 just look really nice. Unfortunately, on the bad side, there were some ugly issues here. To start with, it's the P848. I'm going to forget that number in just a second here. Just use a name, Ruike. Seriously, do it. Just give it a name. I'm sorry, just do it. Next thing, the clip on this guy is a huge hot spot. As you grip this guy in the hand, here we go. This guy, you're going to feel this clip just digging into you down here at the bottom. It's not the end of any worlds, and this isn't probably the knife you're going to want to use for hard use or anything like that, but still, it is a giant hotspot, and it takes something that could have otherwise been very ergonomic due to the contouring here, and it makes it much less enjoyable. Much less of a beautiful thing. And so that's not great. Next thing, this has no sharpening choil, and so instead you can see here that they've kind of got an issue. Like they've sharpened up onto the heel of the blade here in places. They've got something that looks like it was gesturing at being a sharpening choil, but it just isn't. And they kind of put that out further. That would have been a much better approach, but it isn't, so it isn't. And that sucks, unfortunately. I'm not a big fan of that. And so that's not great. And you can see there's there's already starting to be a little bit of a recurve in the blade from the factory sharpening, because that's, yeah. Next thing, this guy is kind of aiming to be a slip jointy sort of knife, but they've made the blade stock weirdly thick on it. One of the nice things that that traditional knives have going for them is relatively thin blades and slicey stock, and unfortunately, they've not gone with a thin blade with slicey stock or anything like that. Maybe they don't have thin stock around there, which is something they should fix, but still, that just feels very strange on there, because there's no reason not to use a thinner stock here. It's not like you're going to have a hard-use liner lock nail nick knife. That seems a little weird to me. Damn it, I closed it. So that's not great. Next thing, the coating on the blade here. Just a second. There we go. Coating on the blade here is absolutely, I am not quite sure whether it's a very fine glass blast or whether there's some kind of a coating on there. I genuinely don't know. But whatever it is, there's kind of a weird contrast between the edge and the blade, and it seems a little bit optically odd. I don't know what's going on there. Not a big deal, but it's certainly something. Then finally, on the ugly front, just the thing that kills this knife for me, is the way that it opens. So this knife is a nail nick knife. Now, don't get me wrong. I certainly am not a nail nick fan. Particularly, they don't super do it for me. But the thing is, they can be done very well. So, for instance, this is another rake, knife, Ruike, whatever, knife. And this guy you can actually pinch open even if you don't want to use the nail nick, which is great. Or, for instance, you got these guys, like Case. You can get in there with your finger here and see, take a look. You've got a very nice little gap between the top of the blade and the nail nicks. You can get in there and definitely open it up there. But the problem with this guy is twofold. To start with, there is no place that you can grab this knife. And on the other side, it's completely closed off, so you cannot do that. You can't come in here with two fingers and pinch. But more importantly, the nail nick itself is very, very close to the pivot, which means you have very little leverage, which means that this is a little bit harder than most nail nick knives to open. There's a reason they tend to be down at the bottom, where the leverage works for you. And then it also has a very, very stiff detent, which is not bringing a lot of joy. I mean, seriously, you're going to, as you see in this, I am failing to open this guy with a coin on some occasions, and that's really not great. But the worst thing of all to me is the fact that there is actually a fair amount of metal between the top of the nail nick and the top of the blade, which means that if you've got relatively short nails, as I do, I keep my nails relatively short, as a professional hand model, that's definitely a thing. That's a joke, by the way. If there's any problem with it. But anyways, as a result, though, I really just can't get in there. Okay, I got that time. I just can't freaking get in there and open this knife. And so if you have relatively short fingernails or thumbnails, you are going to just not be able to open this. And so as a result, this knife was a knife that I had to carry a coin with on the day that I freaking carried it so I could open the damn thing, and that's so stupid. So nail nicks are not my favorite thing in the world, but they can be done well, and this one just isn't, because with this kind of a stiff detent and the location of it, it's just bad. So to me, all of that is the bad, is that it's pretty much impossible to open without long nails made of adamantium or some kind of a tool. The blade, although I don't know if it's coated or blasted or what, it's a little bit weird. Come on. The blade itself is a little bit thick. It needs a sharpening choil. Clip is a huge hot spot, and they need to start giving their knives names like freaking yesterday. So, on the final conclusion front, look, I think this is a neat idea. It's a beautiful knife, too, by the way. I mean, absolutely 100%. I wanted the reason I ordered this is like I was hoping, oh, wow, this is so attractive. I want to be able to recommend this because, honestly, modern, this is a very gentleman's foldery kind of knife. That's a nice thing. And if they could have done this right, with the right size blade stock and everything, and, the ability to open the damn thing, that would have been absolutely spectacular. And having it being on, some kind of bearings or another with a neat modern design, absolutely wonderful. And, of course, it had some other downsides, being a little bit thick overall with thick blade stock, needing a sharpening choil, those kinds of details. Those are problems, but they're not the end of any worlds. But unfortunately, for me at least, the way this nail nick was implemented and the way the opening is implemented just left this knife completely dead on arrival. If you have to carry a tool to open your knife, that's just, you need a better knife. The knife is busted. And it kind of left me feeling like, okay, who approved this? Who went through and realized, like maybe this one has an unusually strong detent. I know that rake has some detent, variability sometimes. Maybe that's the problem here. But still, why? There's a reason in a lot of traditional knives the nick is further down here. There's a reason that you have something to grab on either side. There were so many things that they did not learn from in the many, many years, hundreds of years of nail nick style knives that it really bothers me a lot. And honestly, it made me just hate using this knife. I wanted to love this, and at some level, aesthetically, I still do. But there's nothing compelling enough to keep me interested when they're doing something so stupid as the way that they have implemented this damn lock. I mean, that's just so, not lock, but opening mechanism. I mean, hell, I had hoped that this was a front flipper. I had dreamed that maybe there was just a little tab, and this would be a super compelling body for a front flipper. I mean, seriously, put a little tab up there. Holy crap, yes. But unfortunately, as it is, it's just dead. There's nothing compelling enough here, and so it made this guy an easy call. So it's a neat idea. It's got some nice details. But the thing is, like I said, what bothers me most here is that there are so many ways to solve the problems that they failed to solve here that this just feels like it's underthought. And I've been having this experience a lot in this batch of knives, actually, from Ruike. You know, this guy doesn't open because the thumb stud's too short and a confluence of other issues. This guy is doing all of that. This guy, on the other hand, it doesn't make sense as a slip joint. They've made, and plus left side tip down. I mean, I'm getting the sense that this lineup, the spring releases by Ruike, no one was freaking thinking about them. It's just like, oh, I sketched something up. Okay, great, ship it. Like, do we want to test it? No, ship it. And I'm feeling that hit here too. There are some fine knives in there, but oh my God, is this underthought. So ultimately, like I said, this is a neat idea. It's got some nice details, but unless you have adamantium fingernails and a strong desire to use them on a regular basis, this guy is just absolutely not worth doing and not something I'm going to recommend. So there you go. Hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of the day, and I hope I ended this video in the nick of time. Bye now.